The What to Next podcast helps you build a TBR of each your favorite books. In each episode, Lori and Maine interviews authors and book influencers to recommend books they loved for you to pick up today. If you're an avid reader, always looking for your next great read, then the show. Hi, Lana. Welcome to What to Next podcast.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, I was afraid you were going to ask that. There's nothing special about me outside of that I wrote a horny book, basically. I like cats and I like thrift shopping and I like eating ice cream in my bedroom, and that's all I do. I like movies a lot. I watch a lot of movies. And then I write romance. So
I love this. I love you write you watch movies and you write romance and write horny romances, which is what we need. But the thrift shopping, I'm actually curious to hear, because you do take trips to go thrifting. So talk to us about how did you get started? What are some of your favorite finds and whatnot?
So my grandma, which I talk about her all the time because she's just my hero. Her entire house might as well be a thrift shop. She's been collecting for, half a century. And so it started, going with her just to like random local little places. And now that we're all kind of grown up, every year we pick a new place within reasonable driving distance, and we go for her birthday for the weekend, and we do nothing but thrift shop. So it's just kind of become like a thing that me and all of the women in my family do together every year. So I really love finding weird, eclectic stuff that makes no sense. I think the last time I was there, I found a book that I have no idea what it's about, but the cover had like a man in a devil costume chasing after a promiscuous looking woman. Don't know what the book is about, but I know I'm going to put it on a shelf in my office because it just looked cool. I paid $35 for that book and I don't regret it.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this finding. I love this bonding activity among the family to go thrifting. That sounds like fun,
Oh, it is. We actually just had this trip last weekend. And we went, it was only a couple of hours away, but there was this huge, it's like a flea market thrift mall. It had like 100 booths in it. So she was in hog heaven, but she's a lot faster than me. So she was done before me. And then she was trying to hurry us up so we could go to the next one.
Oh my gosh. I love this. I grew up watching, my brother loves shopping. He basically, any type of place that has a shop or flea market or a store of any kind, it doesn't matter. Every time and I travel with him, he comes to visit me fairly often, and that's what we do. So I feel like it's like a fun bonding experience. There's different styles. There's people who just peruse and just spend time, and then there are people rushing through and trying to find the right find. So
right. And it's fun when you're with somebody that knows you really well, because me and my sister are exact opposites. So she will literally text me from another area and be like, get over here, I found something you're gonna like. She actually found this weekend, she found a jar, and I don't know who follows me on Instagram. I was so sad because I thought it said DILLDO is what I thought it said. I was like, oh my god, the dildo jar. And
yeah.
It turns out I showed it to my aunt the next morning at breakfast, and she's like, that says it'll do, babe. And I was like, so sad, not as fun. It was gonna go in my office and hold pins, but I still jar, even if it's not as cool now.
I know, it's a missed opportunity. I feel like that's a merch that should happen.
But that she found it and immediately yelled out my name. She's like, you have to get over here.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. So let's chat about your writing. So The Nanny is your debut novel. So what led you to start writing?
Honestly, just probably the amount of romance novels that I was consuming. Started pretty young age. My grandma, again, had a huge shelf of historicals. At 15, the clinch covers are pretty titillating. You're very curious. So I started sneaking them off her shelf. Obviously could not tell my mother about this. So I'd mostly read them at her house, when I was staying with her for the summer. And I immediately it's just something so comforting about always knowing that there's going to be a happy ending. And so from a young age, I've always just always gravitated towards romance because you always know there's going to be a good ending, no matter what happens along the way. And for someone who is severely anxious like me, I love that comfort. So it's just started there. And then as the years went on, they got progressively hornier. and and then now here I am. I just wanted to emulate that a little bit because I started getting my own stories in my head, I guess.
Yes.
So
Oh, it's so exciting. And The Nanny is your debut novel. So talk to us the elevator pitch. Just kind of like give us the highlights, which is it's a pretty spicy book.
yeah, I mean, it's about OnlyFans. So you hear that word and you automatically know something is going to happen.
Yeah.
But basically, Cassie is an ex OnlyFans girl. She hasn't been doing it for a few years because she got a little too close to a subscriber and she just couldn't do it anymore. But now her job at the children's hospital, where she's been kind of rotating with her occupational therapy that she's been going to school for, has cut her due to funding, and she needs a job fast because she's paying her way through college. And nobody that she's looking at is willing to work with her schedule for her classes. So she thinks all hope is lost until she sees an ad for a live-in nanny position. And it's almost too good to be true. The pay is good. They're willing to work with her hours. And so it seems like a no-brainer. But then she meets Aiden, and obviously he's a DILF. It says it right on the back of the cover. I stand by that. And, he's charming and handsome and sweet and a little bit awkward and fumbling. He's trying to make his way with his daughter. So there's an instant attraction that they're both trying to ignore, and which is only made more complicated when it comes to light that he is actually the subscriber that got away all those years ago.
And more will be real. And it's horny and spicy and just good fun.
I adore my editor because she basically told me after we had met and got to know each other that my brand was going to be sexy. So I was like, I can work with that. Like, because I was like, do I have to write within like a certain like theme? Do they all have to kind of be similar? She said, honestly, no, your theme or your brand is sexy and we're just going to stick with that. And I was like, all right, which is how I ended up writing a full rom-com for my second book.
So talk to our second book. Give us a teaser. Because now that we read The Nanny, we're like, okay, now we need to know more,
So like I said, I really love like monster romance. They're usually just a little bit dirtier than contemporary romance. And obviously, I'm a trash goblin that calls to me. But so there's something within that, like shifter romances, omega verses. They're always really kind of primal, and there's a lot of tension and sex and everything that I like in those novels. But what I wanted to do was take that and, contemporize it, because, a lot of those novels you'll see like dynamics with like packs and like hierarchies within just the wolves, and sometimes they're werewolves. And I just wanted to do like all of the good horny things in those books and take them and make them into like a more contemporary rom-com. So it's like the wolf shifting is almost like on the back burner. Like I wouldn't even call it the main plot. It's so strange. It's so hard for me to like put this book into a genre, but I really hope everybody gives it a chance because it's really funny and it's obviously horny. And I love Mackenzie and Noah. They're just so sweet together.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And I love that you combine your two passions, because we're always talking about your book recommendations and you combine both of those, like the rom-com-y part, and then there's the monster romances. So speaking of those, talk to us about what books do you recommend our listeners to pick up?
Okay, so if they don't know by now that I'm an absolute I'm not gonna say the W word, but I'm a something for Ruby Dixon. Like I love her. I got to know her early on in this process because she blurbed my book and I basically bullied her into being my friend. She has like 70 books out there. First of all, who has that kind of time to put that much like quality content out there? She's a wizard. Every one of her books are, you're guaranteed to swoon, you're guaranteed to get a little sweaty. And they're just so fun. Like they just never let you down. So literally, if you have not heard of Ruby Dixon, which I would find hard to believe, please go out and read all of her books right now. I've read all of them at least twice. But outside of her, I really like Finley Fenn. She writes an orc series, and for whatever reason, I am really into orcs. They're all like very growly and alpha, and they're huge, and big man is big. I like that. Catherine Moon has some really good ones. Oh my gosh, I am losing. I forgot her name. There's A Lady of Brooksgrave is a
Yep,
really, I think that is Catherine Moon actually.
I think
Um,
so.
right. Like that was my first introduction to her. And she also has an orc book out now, which is really good. So it's like two worlds colliding. Oh, and Lillian Lark is really good as well. There was like a few months where I went down a hole and I think I read everything I could find. So it's hard for me to think of them all, but those are very good places to start for sure. And then there is a queer series that I adore. I mentioned it in your questionnaire. It's by Lily Mayne,
Mhm.
who writes. Her universe is so good. The monsters are good. The couples are so sweet. It's very spicy, and even like the subplot is just like that is a comfort series that I come back to so often. I love it so much.
Oh my gosh, I love these recommendations. As someone who's like dipping her toes into monster romance or alien romance, I'm like, ooh, you're giving me like enough to give taste of like these are the ones I need to put on my TBR for sure. You
For
know.
sure. Like they have like all of those authors I mentioned have a great plot. They have the great spice. They're usually like funny at times. Like so, it's just like everything I love in one book.
Love this. Thank you, Lana, for being on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. For a list of books mentioned and other book recommendations, please visit watchrenexblog.com. Thank you so much for listening and happy reading.